Another huge weekend coming up in the A-League men's competition, and it includes the first New Zealand derby match. Wellington Phoenix, Auckland FC. Who will be winning that match? Find out later on in this video. We'd love to get your thoughts on this weekend's matches and your predictions as well. Who do you think is winning this weekend in the A-League? We are going through in chronological order. So Friday night sees Brisbane Roar return to action. They had the bye round 2 and they'll be hosting Sydney FC. With the Sky Blues coming off a couple consecutive losses in all competitions, losing away in Japan to Sanfrecce Hiroshima, and then that dramatic loss against Auckland FC, which was very controversial. Sydney FC had a goal ruled out towards the end of that game, conceding in the 97th minute. Auckland FC, the scenes at Go Media Stadium were incredible. But the Sky Blues will be really eager to bounce back here with a win away to Brisbane. So the Roar, excited to see them back in action after missing out last week. We saw glimpses from them in that opening round match against Auckland. The likes of Acosta, and one of the new signings, looks pretty good. I thought Waleed Shaw looked pretty comfortable at the back as well. With a couple of weeks since that round 1 game, you wonder if some more of those new Roar signings might feature in this home game for them. And I would love to start the A-League season here at home with a win over Sydney FC, which would be a big statement from this new look Brisbane Roar side. Sydney FC, obviously we have to talk about some of the injury concerns. In that game against Auckland FC, not only was there some controversy, but there was also some serious injury concerns for Sydney FC. We know Douglas Costa was left out of the squad altogether for last weekend's match due to a hamstring issue. Apparently it's not too serious. We'll see what happens in that department. Joe Lolly went off injured in the first half against Auckland. Huge concern for Sydney FC. We know that Joe Lolly struggled with an injury at the back end of last season. He missed out at the end of the final series. And then Corey Holman also coming off injured as well in that Auckland match. So keep an eye on Sydney FC and their squad for this weekend to see who will be missing out, who will be included. So if they potentially are missing Costa, Lolly, Holman, that's some huge outs. Look, they still have a good squad. The likes of Leo Senna and Anis Wahine have been looking really, really good lately. Patrick Klimala has proved a real threat in front of goal as well. So they still have a good team and some youngsters who would come in to fill those gaps if needed. The likes of Segicic and Manatidis, Jay Gachowski, Patrick Wood. So the depth is there for Sydney, but it is a test if they are going to lose these key first team players. But that could well be good news for Brisbane Roar, who may look at this match as an opportunity to grab a big 3 points, their first win of the season, especially after losing against Auckland 2 weeks ago as well. For my tip for this game, I'm going to go Sydney 2, Brisbane 1. I would love to see Brisbane get a win here at home, but I feel like Sydney FC, regardless of those injuries, they still have the strength to get it done. They're going to be such a strong team this season. I think that loss last week against Auckland, they were arguably the better team in that game as well against Auckland FC. It was a really tight match, but Sydney FC easily could have scored on a couple of occasions in that game. I think they'll be strong here once again against Brisbane Roar. And you look at the two teams on paper, they should have enough class and quality to get over them in the line. I'm going to go 2-1 to the Sky Blues. Next up, it is the big one. We are all looking forward to it. Wellington Phoenix, Auckland FC, and it's set up so nicely too, because both teams are sitting top of the ladder just after a couple of rounds, of course, but a win and a draw for Wellington Phoenix. 2 wins for Auckland FC, who are yet to concede a goal. And this, of course, worth pointing out, this is a Wellington Phoenix home game, and that will play a factor in this match. But of course, I'm sure we're going to see plenty of blue and black in these stands for this game. Can't wait for it. There's so many talking points, so many key battles across the field. Wellington Phoenix, the system that they have been deploying this season has been working really well for them already. The back 3 and the wing backs really getting high up the pitch, and the 3 midfield players of Rufa, Nagasawa and Conchi working so hard. Barbarousse is always a threat going forward as well. They looked really, really good in that 2-0 win against Perth Glory last week. I was very impressed with that performance. And Auckland FC will have to be on their game here once again. But Auckland FC, so many positives about the way they've started this season, a 4-2-3-1 formation. Some of their international imports, the likes of Verstrate and Gajegos, have looked very, very good in midfield. Guillermo May has looked very, very lively, and I think it's a matter of time before May scores his first A-League goal. So it is a genuinely tricky one to split. For a key battle to keep an eye on in this game, I'm looking at Auckland FC's left-hand side, a youngster who has impressed so much for Auckland FC and has gotten consecutive starts for them in their first couple of games is Liam Gillian. Plenty of pace, loves to take players on, is playing with a lot of bravery from what we've seen in his first couple A-League games. And he's going to be coming up against Tim Payne, one of the top right backs in the A-League. Obviously, Tim Payne these days more so operating as a right wing back. But with Gillian really pushing up and De Vries as well overlapping, Tim Payne might have to play more of a defensive role in this game to really nullify that dangerous left-sided combination for Auckland FC. So keep an eye on that area of the park in this derby match. For my score prediction though, I'm going for Auckland FC 2, Wellington Phoenix 1. I think Auckland get the win here. I just think that result last week against Sydney, digging deep and getting that winner right at the end and the celebrations there with the Port, that's going to give them so much confidence. 2 wins, haven't conceded a goal. They're taking on Wellington Phoenix, their rivals, for the first time ever. They're going to be up for this game. Look, don't get me wrong, as are Wellington Phoenix, and I think Wellington are set for a really strong year. But Auckland FC, there is such an energy and an enthusiasm about them right now. I think they're going to be unstoppable for the first few games this season, and I think they do get the win here against Wellington Phoenix. Will be such a tight game. Might be a late winner once again for Auckland FC, but I'm going 2-1 for the newest A-League club. Next up, Central Coast Mariners, my team, taking on Perth Glory. And look, I don't think I'm being biased by saying that I think Mariners do get their first win of the season here against Perth Glory. Having said that, Glory have proved a bit of a tricky test for Mariners at home over the last few years. But you look at the two teams and the way they're building. Perth Glory, another loss last week against Wellington. They were just not up to scratch once again, and still might take a few more weeks to build as they sort of still figure out their right setup. Look, that 4-2-3-1 formation that Perth Glory are playing, it looks dangerous, and they've got some exciting players there, especially some good young players. But again, we saw last week, David Zrilic brought 3 players off at halftime. There's a sense that he's still sort of trying to figure out the right setup, maybe trying to get all the players fit in his team. Whereas Central Coast Mariners are already a handful of competitive games into this season after playing a few matches in the Asian Champions League Elite. And for the last few matches have been building nicely. Couple draws in the A-League season so far, but I was really impressed with Mariners' second half performance against Adelaide last week, which saw them draw 1-1. An interesting tactical tweak we should talk about: Mark Jackson going to a back 5 in that second half, which helped Mariners regain some control of that game where Adelaide were really dominating in that first period. And I wouldn't mind to see Mark Jackson deploy that formation from the start. We could see it, a back 3 of Nathan, Paul, Brian Kaltak, Brad Tapp. It allows Docker and Moragas to play as attacking wingbacks and really help out the attack a whole lot more. So who knows? We may see that from the start for Mariners this weekend against Perth Glory. But I think at home here, surely Mariners get their first win of the season. I'm going to go Mariners 2, Perth Glory 0. Saturday night sees Western Sydney Wanderers host Adelaide United in what should be a fascinating matchup. The Reds, I was, as mentioned, really impressed with their first half performance last week. They really dominated Mariners, and especially with Dylan Parias bombing on from right back, the way they really overloaded that final third. They're going to score plenty of goals this season. Western Sydney Wanderers, an okay start to this season. The results haven't gone their way, though. The loss in the Sydney derby, and they'll be disappointed that they only managed a point away to Western United last week. We did see Juan Mata start his first game last week, which was a huge positive for Wanderers, and we'd probably expect him to start this game once again. But for Western Sydney, there has been, really positive passages of play from them across their first 2 games. You look at that front 4, it's dangerous. It's, Borrello and Mata sort of operating centrally, Milanovic on the right, Crive on the left. There's goals there in that front 4, and if they do get clicking, they could certainly tear Adelaide United apart in this game, considering that the Reds still have a bit of a makeshift defence, with Isaias having to drop back, Kiki Giannis in there as well. We'll see if the likes of Jordan Elsey and Bart Vreens are available to return for the Reds for this game for some defensive reinforcements. So there could well be goals in this game, and I think we will get goals in this game. For me, though, it's a tricky one to pick who will win it. I'm not confident to see either side win it just yet, so I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Could be a fun game to watch, this one. Keep an eye on this one. Wanderers Adelaide on Saturday night. Sunday afternoon, it's a rematch of the Australia Cup final. Melbourne Victory hosting Macarthur SC. Of course, these teams met just about a month or so ago now, and of course, Macarthur SC winning that Australia Cup final 1-0. Will it be the same result again? I don't think so. I think Melbourne Victory, coming off that Melbourne derby performance where they were unstoppable in that opening half an hour. If they do that again against Macarthur here, they could well win that game. So the Bulls will have to make sure they are really switched on for the first half of this game, because Melbourne Victory, when they go forward, they don't mind sitting back, absorbing the pressure, but the counter-attack is so dangerous. I mean, this is going to be a fascinating battle because you've got two teams who love to utilize the counter-attack. Macarthur FC have shown that over the last couple of seasons now. Under the leadership of Milos Dejovski, they love utilizing the counter-attack with Jakalic and Drew on the wings, Germain in the middle to finish off the opportunities. Such a dangerous front three that Macarthur have in their setup. And look, they'll be very eager to bounce back because they suffered that 2-1 loss. Look back to round one a couple of weeks ago, Macarthur winning 6-1. So which Bulls will we get this week? They have to make sure they really do nullify Victory's dangerous attackers. Virgos scoring in the Melbourne derby last week. Piscopo and Veluplay are looking good. If they can keep those guys quiet for the first half, the Bulls are a chance to grab another big win at AAMI Park in this game. And again, as a key duel, we just have to highlight Marin Jakalic, Jason Guerrier. Jakalic already 3 goals in this A-League season and was fantastic in the Australia Cup earlier this year. And Jason Guerrier, Socceroos right back. I mean, that'll be a really fascinating duel on Macarthur's left-hand side in this matchup. Melbourne Victory, I think they win this game at home, especially coming off that big Melbourne derby win last week. It might be a bit of a chess match this game with both teams playing it a little bit safe, looking to hit on the counter-attack, but I think Victory win it in the end. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win for Kisnorbo's side. And then we have a Monday night fixture. It is Western United hosting Melbourne City, this game being played at AAMI Park on a Monday evening. Western United, of course, I did predict them to pick up the wooden spoon this year, and they've been performing a little bit better than what I'd expected personally. Nothing against Western United. I just didn't think they had the quality this season, but the likes of Grimaldi and Danzaki have started this season brightly. Hiroshi Ibusuki scoring his first goal for them last week against Wanderers as well. I think it's a huge positive, grabbing 1-1 draws against Wellington and Wanderers, 2 decent sides, and coming up against a Melbourne City team who look, despite losing the Melbourne derby 3-1 last week, as we mentioned on the weekend, they weren't terrible in that game, aside from that, obviously, that opening half an hour where their defense just hadn't woken up. In other areas of the game, going forward and dominating midfield, they were looking pretty good in Melbourne City. And I don't think that result last week is going to be a big indicator for Melbourne City. I think they're still set for a strong season coming up. They've still got a fantastic team there. Hopefully for them, they see Lecky return this week. We'll keep an eye on that one. Obviously, Max Caputo's still out, so there's still a couple of key players to come back for Melbourne City. But for this game, Western United will give them a real test once again. Western, they could certainly prove to be a real dark horse in the A-League this season. And for Western United, their main goal threat, of course, has to be Hiroshi Ibusuki, the big striker who is always capable of scoring a goal. He'll be coming up against the likes of Kai Truin, Samuel Cyprian, maybe Herman Ferreira at the back there as well. So it'll be certainly be a handful for those City defenders to try and keep Ibusuki quiet in this match. That'll be the key at the back for Melbourne City, a real test for their defense, especially for keeper Patrick Beach, who was really good round 1 against Jets, but obviously had a bit of a shocker in the Melbourne derby, unfortunately for him. So he'll be hoping to regain some confidence in this game as well. A really tricky one to predict, but based off Western United and what they've put in their first couple of games, they're proving me wrong already, I think. I think they could well be a competitive side this season. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw between Western United and Melbourne City. So there's my score predictions for round 3. Of course, the bye this week. Newcastle Jets have the week off. As mentioned, feel free to throw your predictions and thoughts on this weekend's games in the comments section. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to stay subscribed for plenty of A-League content here. And make sure to join us live Sunday night, 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time for our A-League live round recap. We've done it the first couple of rounds. It's been great breaking down the past round of A-League action with you guys in the live chat. So join us here once again this Sunday evening. Make sure to hit the like button. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name's Lockie. This is Coast Watch Football, and I'll see you in the next one.